Welcome to this explainer. So, today we're diving into an ecological upheaval that's, well, completely unprecedented. Ecologists have been waving the red flags since the 1990s about an impending crisis. But here's the wild part. Unlike every other mass extinction event in Earth's history, the one we're witnessing right now, it can be traced back to just a single species, us, Homo sapiens. We're going to explore exactly how human activity is fundamentally rewiring and honestly, in many cases, completely dismantling the natural world.
Let's jump right in with a number that should absolutely give all of us pause: 73%. According to the 2024 Living Planet report, global wildlife populations have plummeted by an average of 73% in just 50 years. Now think about that. Half a century is literally just a blink of an eye in geological time, right? Yet in that incredibly short span, nearly 3/4 of our monitored vertebrate wildlife populations have just vanished. To really grasp the scale of what we're talking about here, let's quickly define our terms. We are currently living through what scientists call the Sixth Mass Extinction. This is a severe, intensely human-driven event that's defawning our ecological communities. And hey, if you're not familiar, defaunation is just a fancy way of saying the localized or global loss of animal species from an ecosystem. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that human element. It's things like overconsumption, rapid population growth, and intensive farming that are the direct, literal engines driving this rapid decline. When you break down that decline across the planet's major ecosystems, a pretty stark picture emerges. Sure, marine populations have fallen by 56% and terrestrial species by 69%, which is already bad enough, but look at the truly staggering drop in freshwater ecosystems, an 85% decline. Our rivers, our lakes, our wetlands, they are bearing the absolute brunt of human expansion and pollution.
And the historical stakes here are just profound. Since the year 1500, which, not coincidentally, roughly tracks with the real acceleration of global human expansion and industrialization, at least 680 vertebrate species have been driven to permanent extinction. And it's important to remember these aren't just statistics on a page. These are entire, completely unique evolutionary lineages that have been erased from the Earth forever.
Okay, moving right into part one, why wildlife matters.
See, wildlife provides what ecologists call ecosystem services. Basically, these are the invisible, highly complex biological processes that literally keep our world habitable. We're talking about birds and bugs pollinating the very crops we eat, animals distributing seeds to keep forests regenerating, natural pest control, soil production for farming, and this massive amount of carbon storage that keeps our global climate stable. The survival of these natural habitats is directly, intimately connected to your everyday access to food, clean water, and the air you breathe. As researchers frequently point out, and as this quote summarizes perfectly, every species is significant because it serves as a link in the bigger picture of an ecosystem. It's like a giant chain, right? You can't just randomly remove a few links and then expect the whole thing to hold the exact same amount of weight. Losing even one seemingly insignificant little species actually threatens the entire foundation of that larger picture, potentially unraveling thousands of years of fine-tuned evolutionary balance. Which brings us to part two, the threat of deforestation. Now, deforestation isn't just about cutting down some trees. It's a massive, multifaceted assault on an entire ecosystem. It leads directly to habitat loss, to the tune of about 10 million hectares a year globally. That is huge. And it doesn't stop there. It drives biodiversity decline, it messes with the water cycle, it causes severe soil erosion that just pollutes our rivers, and it fundamentally accelerates global warming by releasing all that stored carbon back into the atmosphere. It's really a compounding crisis.
Plus, when we clear land, we don't usually just take the whole forest in one go. Often we kind of splinter it up, and this creates what we call fragmented habitats. Imagine trying to survive in your house, but all the hallways have been completely blocked off. That's what this is like. It isolates vulnerable populations, think orangutans, Sumatran tigers, elephants, stranding them in spaces way too small to actually support them. This totally tanks their genetic diversity and forces them out into populated human settlements just to look for food, and well, you can guess what happens next. That inevitably leads to really deadly human-wildlife conflicts.
Let's look at part three, overexploitation and climate change.
Beyond just deforestation, we are actively draining wild populations way faster than they can ever reproduce. Unsustainable hunting and the frankly massive, multi-billion-dollar global illegal wildlife trade are huge drivers here. Just to give you an example, over in the Sundaland biodiversity hotspot in Southeast Asia, Heavy exploitation for the pet trade and local food has actively targeted 77 different forest-dependent bird species, pushing a lot of them right to the brink of local extinction. You combine that kind of pressure with the introduction of invasive species and extreme, totally unpredictable weather patterns, and nature simply can't keep up.
Speaking of weather, there's actually a pretty surprising discovery regarding climate change. A recent study that surveyed over 5,000 species found that climate-driven local extinctions are happening a lot more frequently in temperate, cooler regions compared to tropical ones. I mean, we're seeing localized climate extinctions in 49% of surveyed temperate species versus 33% in the tropics. So it turns out just shifting ranges into cooler areas is simply not compensating for those local population losses.
Which brings us to the core of the issue in Part 4, chains of extinction.
If you take a look at this diagram, you'll see what scientists refer to as secondary effects. Over on the left, food web A shows a perfectly healthy, highly complex ecosystem. But then look over on the right at food web B. Here, human activity has removed just a single element. Maybe it's butterfly larvae, maybe it's a specific type of bird. But that one single loss starves out the predators above it and overpopulates the insects below it. The entire web just fractures, like a giant puzzle falling apart.
This is the domino effect in action, plain and simple. It's this vicious, secondary chain reaction of destruction. Think about it. If we hunt a large herbivore to extinction, while the little insect-eating birds that feed on its parasites, they die out. And then the predators that eat those birds, they die out too. Losing these key species literally pulls down all the insects, birds, and plants intricately tied to them. Honestly, it is by far the most destructive process that can occur in any ecological community.
Finally, Part 5, Conserving Our Natural World. Now for some good news. The crucial point here is that we actually have the solutions, but it's going to require some serious, parallel concerted efforts across the globe. Number 1, governments absolutely must enforce strict anti-logging laws to finally halt that habitat destruction. Number 2, we've got to vastly expand protected habitat areas to give these species room to breathe, to breed, and to migrate safely. And number 3, we have to empower community-based, sustainable management. We need to make sure that local populations can thrive economically without feeling like they have to exploit their surrounding ecosystems just to survive.
Look, humanity has literally never been more aware of our impact on the planet than we are right this second. We understand the triggers, we clearly see the dominoes falling all around us, and most importantly, we have the tools to intervene. Which leaves us with one final absolutely vital question to ponder. Are we going to be the asteroid that causes the sixth mass extinction, or the force that stops it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helped you see the bigger picture.